ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಪ್ರಾಯೋಜಕರು ಯುವಂ ಯುಗಂ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾಸಿಕ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ ವಾರ್ತೆಗರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಹೇಶ್ವರ ಗಾರ್ಡಿಗೇಂದ್ರ.
ಮೈಸೂರು ಜನವರಿ 8 ಮೈಸೂರು ಲಿಟರರಿ ಫೋರಂ ಚಾರಿಟಬಲ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೈಸೂರು ಬುಕ್ ಕ್ಲಬ್ಸ್ 2015 ವತಿಯಿಂದ ವೈ ವಿ ಡೈ ನಾವೇಕೆ ಸಾಯುತ್ತೇವೆ ಕೃತಿಯ ಕುರಿತು ಮಾನಸ ಗಂಗೋತ್ರಿ ಆವರಣದ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಭವನದಲ್ಲಿ ನೊಬೆಲ್ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಪುರಸ್ಕೃತ ಜೀವಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಮತ್ತು ಲೇಖಕರಾದ ವೆಂಕಿ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣನ್ ರವರ ಜೊತೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಸಿ ನಾಗಣ್ಣ ಹಾಗೂ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೇವಾ ಸಿಂಗ್ ರವರು ಸಂವಾದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಡೆಸಿದರು. ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಸೂರು ಲಿಟರರಿ ಫೋರಂ ಚಾರಿಟಬಲ್ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೈಸೂರು ಬುಕ್ ಕ್ಲಬ್ಸ್ 2015 ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಪಕ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರಾದ ಶುಭಾ ಸಂಜಯ್ ಅರಸ್ ಸೇರಿದಂತೆ ಮತ್ತಿತರರು ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತರಿದ್ದರು.
Today we have the privilege of hosting Nobel laureate Venki Ramakrishnan, who will share the insights into the mysteries of life and death. I'd like to express my gratitude for the incredible journey that led to this event. Our email exchanges between myself and Mr. Venki Ramakrishnan, which began in January 2019, has brought us to this momentous occasion.
Mr. Venki Ramakrishnan was born and raised in India, where he earned a degree in physics. At 19, he moved to the United States to pursue PhD in physics, but soon shifted his focus to biology. What a contrast, physics to biology. After nearly 3 decades in the US, he relocated to England in 1999 to join the MRC laboratory to molecular biology in Cambridge, where he is currently a group leader. His research has primarily focused on key issues of molecular biology, particularly how genetic information in our DNA is translated into proteins by the ribosome, a massive molecular complex comprising about 500,000 atoms. Ramakrishnan and his colleagues mapped the ribosome's precise atomic structure, enhancing our understanding of its function and revealing how certain antibiotics inhibit bacterial ribosomes, aiding in the development of more effective antibiotics. For this groundbreaking work, he was awarded the 2009 Nobel Prize in Chemistry.
My questions will be of general nature, and Dr. Meva Singh, being a scientist, will pose questions with the advantage of his scientific background. So the idea is to reach the content of the book Why We Die to the audience so that they are inspired to read.
It is general curiosity in the people about your work which earned you Nobel Prize, because the work is not going to be reflected much in the book, what we have done. And I know it's very technical work, not to explain 30 sub-units of ribosomes, but I think it would be nice to explain in a simple language to this kind of mixed audience about your basic work. Then we'll get to the book.
Okay, so actually, my own research is on how the body makes proteins. And the way, when you tell an ordinary person, a non-scientist, about proteins, they usually think proteins are something you need to eat to grow strong, or they think proteins are something that you need for muscles, but they don't realize that proteins actually are the workhorses of life. Almost everything that you see in life is due to proteins. That gives life its unique characteristics. For example, the way we see is due to a protein in our eyes that detects light. If you touch something and you sense heat or even touch, that's because there are protein receptors that can sense pressure or heat, that convey signals to our brain. The way you carry oxygen from your lungs through your blood to your tissues is a protein called hemoglobin. It's one of the first proteins whose structure was determined. So what are these proteins? Well, they're long chains, they're polymers, long chains with building blocks called amino acids, and there are about 20 types of amino acids, and by various combinations, these protein chains will have a unique characteristic. The order of the amino acids will automatically determine how the proteins fold up and have a particular function. Now imagine how miraculous this is. Imagine how miraculous enzymes that digest our food are also proteins. So you can see proteins have a huge range of functions, and every one of them is a polymer of amino acids, and the protein is made using instructions present in our genes. So our genetic information is what tells the cell how to make the protein, which is how to specify the particular order of those building blocks that goes to make the protein. Now, this doesn't happen automatically. Rather, what happens is our genes typically reside on DNA. There are some organisms in which the genome is made of RNA, typically viruses. But most life forms use DNA as their genetic material. But the DNA is not read directly to make... I think there's some really bad feedback here. It's too loud, okay? Either that information is read to make proteins is by first copying the gene, that is a section of the DNA that contains the gene for that particular protein, into an intermediate molecule called mRNA. Now many of you have heard of the mRNA COVID vaccines, and which has saved millions of lives. And what that mRNA had is the instruction for how to make the spike protein of coronavirus. And because it could make the spike protein, the immune system would recognize it and react to it. And then when you got infected by a real virus, it would have already been programmed to recognize that spike protein from the real virus and mount an immune reaction. But it's copied to mRNA, and then the ribosome reads the mRNA to make those proteins. And although the ribosome was discovered in the 1950s, it wasn't until sort of late 90s and early 2000s that we had a detailed understanding of what the ribosome looked like. And there's a fringe benefit to this work, which is that bacteria have ribosomes also. All life forms actually have ribosomes. But their ribosomes are slightly different from ours, with the result that you can have compounds that block bacterial ribosomes, but don't block our own ribosomes. And many of those are useful antibiotics. For example, erythromycin or azithromycin or tetracycline or streptomycin. These are all what we call ribosomal antibiotics. They work by blocking bacterial ribosomes. So that in a nutshell is sort of this work that you alluded to. But I just want to point out that it does have a connection with aging, because as we age, our ability to make proteins at the right time and in the right amount, and also to destroy proteins when they're dysfunctional, declines. So this whole sort of field of protein synthesis and its regulation actually is quite important for aging itself, even though I don't personally work on aging.
Thank you. Before Nagarjuna takes over, I want to start with the title of your book. As you said, aging. The title of your book is Why We Die. As I understand, the whole book is basically about aging. What we are talking about is how do we age. Why I'm asking this, because many people, including some biologists nowadays, they make this slogan like, we don't die of age, we die of a disease. We die of a disease which could be age related, but nobody dies of age. So this, would you clarify in the beginning, whether you see dying or aging as the same process, or Aging is something different than dying.
I think that you could, of course, you can die of many reasons. For example, you can die of an accident, you can die of an infectious disease, you can die if somebody murders you, lots of ways to die, okay? But let's suppose you avoid all of those external things. You're very careful and practice hygiene, you don't get infections, you don't, and so on, and you're lucky that you don't get cancer, you will still die, right? And so you could think of death as inevitable, and it's not that you can avoid these various causes and then you'll be immortal. Death is inevitable, and what is that inevitability due to? It's due to the fact that we age. And so I think of aging as a gradual process that eventually results in death. And the gradual process is an accumulation of dysfunction, so accumulation of changes and damage to our cells, to our molecules, and then eventually to our tissues, and then eventually.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ವಾರ್ತೆಗರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭೇಟಿಯಾಗೋಣ. ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನದಾಳದ ಗರಿ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನದಾಳದ ಗರಿ. ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಭಾವನೆಗಳ ಗರಿ. ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ನಾಡಿನ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಗರಿ.
ಮನೆ ಮನಗಳ ಗರಿದು ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ತನು ಮನ ಧನಗಳ ಗರಿದು ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ವಿಶ್ವದ ದೇಶದ ನಾಡಿನ ಗರಿದು ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ. ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ 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 ಶ್ರೀಗರಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನದಾಳದ ಗರಿ.